So I just got back from a 2-month road trip in my van, and I'm gonna tell you why van life sucks. Just to preface this, I think van life is absolutely incredible and everyone should give it a go at least once in their life, whether that's traveling in their car. Well, I guess that wouldn't make it van life, but just traveling the country, whatever country in general, is such an amazing experience. I know it obviously depends on the country in terms of safety and accessibility, money, all that kind of stuff, but doing van life, traveling is such an incredible experience. I highly recommend it. You're gonna learn so much about the place where you live, yourself, how to travel, other people, so many different things. So, okay, now that I've given the preface and I am really grateful and happy that I did do this trip, let me tell you why it kind of sucked. So the first thing, and I got kind of a lot of questions about this, is where did I poop? Where did I pee? Where did I shower? And not having a toilet or bathroom really sucks. There were a couple times where I got really close to having a couple accidents. But I made it through. We didn't have any accidents, but finding a toilet every single time, and okay, it's not that big of a hassle as I make it out to be right now, because there are a lot of establishments. There's restaurants, there's Walmarts, there's Targets, there's all the big chain corporations across America. There's rest stops, there's gas stations. Did I say those already? There's a bunch of places where you can go to the toilet, so it's not too big of a deal. But when you wake up in the morning and you gotta find a place, and it's just really annoying. It's a hassle, and especially if you're in a place like where there isn't a toilet and you gotta go out in nature and dig a hole, and it adds this whole complexity to going to the toilet, which normally living in a house or an apartment or wherever is so simple. We don't even think about it, we just take it for granted. So not having a bathroom in one place really sucked. Also not having a shower every single day, either having to find a shower or pay for a shower, go to a gym, a rock climbing gym, a campsite shower, whatever it was. There was always a couple days in between my showers, probably on average 3 to 4 days, but there was one spell where I went about 12 days without showering, and that was not very fun. So do not recommend. So don't take your bathrooms for granted. That really sucks about van life. Unless you build out a van or buy a van that does have a bathroom. I didn't experience that, but I imagine that would be a lot nicer and a lot easier. Although you still have to empty it all the time. So I guess at that point it's kind of like an RV. But anyway, do not recommend not having a bathroom. The second thing is having to find a place to sleep every night. That was really annoying. Not being from certain cities or towns or areas and not knowing what is good to park at. A lot of the time I did stay in Walmart parking lots just because I know that Walmart does offer. Also, I'm talking about America, so if you aren't in America, I'm sorry, I can't offer too much advice on this topic, but I parked in a lot of Walmart parking lots, and that was fine for the most part. I did get kicked out of one Walmart parking lot in New Orleans. Don't know why, because apparently Walmart lets you park in all their parking lots across the country, but this one didn't, so that kind of sucked. And also, I feel like Walmart parking lots are also just kind of sketchy in general. And again, it depends the area that you park in, and if you aren't from that place, how do you know what the good and bad areas are? So I actually did find a little hack to this about halfway through the trip, is I would search up Whole Foods, and they normally put Whole Foods in really nice, rich neighborhoods. So generally safer, better neighborhoods. So I would search up the Whole Foods. They had bathrooms and Wi-Fi there, which was great. So if I needed any of those, I could use that. And then I would try and park in the surrounding neighborhoods just on the residential streets. Now this was also tough because some cities don't allow for street parking, some do, some have certain restrictions and parking time limits. So it was always a challenge to try and find parking and know if I would be safe parking there and not have to wake up to the police or some security guard or some angry resident kicking me off their street. So yeah, there's just like a hint of anxiety every single time I went to sleep at night. So that wasn't very fun, but it is what it is. The third thing was making new friends in new places and then having to leave the next day or a couple days later. And I think that's just one thing that's universally sad about traveling, but also incredible about traveling, is we get to meet all these amazing people from across the world. But it's always sad when you make that solid connection and then you have to leave them in a really short space of time and you don't know when you'll ever see them again. I guess the nice part is that you've made that connection. So if you do ever cross paths again in the world, you have friends. And so I'm really excited about that. I've made a bunch of friends across America through this travel, so now I know a lot more people, and I can, if I'm doing a road trip or even if I want to fly to specific cities, I know people that I can either stay at or see while I'm there. So yeah, but it's always sad moving on from friends, whether even if you aren't traveling, it sucks to lose a friend. That leads me on to the next point, which again, it depends how you're traveling, if you are traveling with somebody else, but I did my travels alone, and at times it got really lonely. I wanted to share experiences with other people. I was doing such amazing things, and I'd often be in these situations where I was like, wow, this is so incredible. I had so much excitement and happiness and joy and all the amazing emotions, but I had no one to share this with. And I was just like, is anyone seeing this right now? And no, it was just me. So that kind of sucked. Also, just driving alone, going to a restaurant. I went to so many restaurants alone and just saw friends and families having dinner at tables, and I was just sitting there alone. And that kind of sucks. I do think it was kind of an important lesson to learn in life, and being okay with being alone and taking that leap of faith to be like, no, I'm doing this alone. I will be okay. I don't need other people. I think it's really important to have other people in your life, but to not rely on other people to feel fulfilled is super important. But yeah, there were times where it did get really lonely, especially on the long drives. And that takes me to my next point. Again, if you are driving with somebody and you can share the driving, that makes it so much better. But I was driving on average probably 4 hours a day. There were times where I drive 8 hours a day. There were times where I drive 2 hours a day. But driving alone for that long of a period really sucks. So I would often have a YouTube video on in the background just to be able to listen to somebody else speak and watch and interact with in a way. Or I'd very often have podcasts on and switch between YouTube, podcasts, music, audiobooks, just a range of different things and different people to try and keep myself engaged, because yeah, it's tough driving that long alone. It really takes its toll on your mind and your body. And then the last point, which I guess I could have included with the finding places to park, is just safety. And again, depends if you're traveling with somebody or not, but even if you are, just finding a safe spot to park. Also, my whole life was in this van, so if I went to go do something, I made sure that everything was locked, doubly checked. Because if anything went wrong to this was my home. And in fact, at one point my alternator gave up on me and I had to get that replaced. But if that happened in the middle of nowhere, it would have been really scary. Also, if I had no phone service, there's a lot of stretches of road that don't have any phone service. So I guess I wasn't as worried about that. I was more just worried about parking in neighborhoods or areas where it wasn't as safe, and I don't know what can happen. I guess the good part is I was the one that had a creepy white van, so there's probably less of a chance that someone will come up to a creepy white van. But still, it's not something that's fun to deal with, and always having to think about your safety. I think that's why it's so important to have some sort of stability in your home and your space that you live. I know this is also coming from a very privileged position, because a lot of people don't really have the option to live in safer neighborhoods. So I apologize if you're hearing this and you aren't in that position, but I realize how important it is to feel safe and secure in order to get out of that survival state and move into a state where you can be creating and exploring and pushing into other aspects of life. But yeah, anyway, those were the main things that stuck out to me that really sucked about van life. Again, such an incredible trip, would highly recommend, but yeah, a lot of things that suck. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please leave a like and consider subscribing, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.